that a life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my face. Work a job every day till your dreams fade away. Like a card, never change, play the game that we say. I need a break. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. Face on when I chase like that. Yeah, I play so strong with a knife in the back. I'ma swing home run like a baseball bat. Gonna see me rise, you can hate on that. I don't play both sides, doing me no cap. I'ma ride or die for my dreams on tap. I'ma fly real high, you ain't see me slack. No, it's not how you fall, it's how you get right back up. That's how you get tough. Calluses on my hands so rough, yeah, I call your bluff. I'm not the one, mess with me, come out with none. Cause I'm so done, you had your fun. And now you're gonna face down the barrel of the gun. Cause I got a full clip with your name on it. But I'ma let you slide cause you ain't worth it. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on.
Live tonight with a different kind of story time. Well, not really different. We're doing another fan submitted one. This is gonna be fan submitted by the same person who did it the first time. Yeah, if you want a story read, if you have a story that you put together in fan fiction or in your original stories or whatever, please submit it. Now you have to apologize. I am doing this during a tornado watch in my area, which is definitely going to add to some lightning and thundering atmosphere as we do the read-through today. But we are going to be reading Project Rotty. If you tuned into our live drawing stream 2 weeks ago, you saw us do the artwork for this request. Where we did this futuristic one, we'll be going over it as we do. We're going to be doing a double dip, though. We're going to be doing this, so we'll be reading the story, Project Rotty, which is a mix of Sailor Moon and RoboCop. So we'll be doing a little bit of that, and then we'll be returning to the Spy Family story we started last week. The next 2 chapters have dropped. So we're going to be covering chapters 3 and 4 of that, which is Father's Day. Which is kind of appropriate since it is the Father's Day weekend coming up here. So we'll be doing that story as well during the stream tonight. But until then, let us join in and start with Project Rotty, as by Damien Tran, our submitter. Fan submitting here, and we will start here. The sounds of Kaneda's theme from the movie Akira fill the futuristic streets of Crystal mid-Scuttle-Yo as we see the sights of the towering landscape before the flying over the gray skyscraper that is as tall as the Empire State Building, the headquarters of the DBIP, Deathbuster and Industrial Productions. Its CEO, a man wearing a white business outfit, blue tie, black belt, and shoes. The name is Satsuo Tome. Descendant of Satsuo Tome, the former leader of the original Deathbusters and father of Hatsuro Tome. Alongside him is his rival brother, a corrupt vice president and DBIP Germany Tome. They were getting ready for something big that the company had never seen. As they walked through the doors after the conversations, they heard the other conversations from the company's business people inside the company boardroom. Serving as a business people alongside with two men, following with Mimori Hanyuru, a perky tech-savvy descendant of Mehmet known as Mimi Hanyu, Edwil Amurura, a tech-savvy descendant of Enduel, or Yoko Amurura, and Momori's rival, Trista Telanu, the plant-carrying descendant of Teluru, and Viviu Biodi, the scientist who descended from Vitali and Chiwa, and Patricia Cypern, twin sisters, who descended on the Cypern and Piddle alongside with the other man, and members of the board, the red hair and the black-dressed chairwoman, who's standing next to the table, and leaning the pillar next to the one of the window frames is Kori Magus, granddaughter of Candlelight, who crosses her arms. Mouthful. May we have our attention, please, Asori said. The business people stopped, and they were doing and paid attention to the two brothers. We at the DBIP want to bring you to the future, our future, with the world of Crystal Mid-Shuttle Yo. After studying with certain girls named Christina Tsuki and Chantal Scuttle, we have made a machine that can rival even both of them. Behold our newest creation. Then Germany took off the shawl and revealed the brothers' creation, a light gray Ed 209-like machine, with a black star on each of its arms, and a gray flower in the middle. Germanoid, he said, as he showed them the machine. After he took the shawl off, Germany then talks about the new machine and what they plan to do with it. After that, he selected a volunteer, one of the businessmen named Kintaro, to hold one of the guns in a threatening manner, to show what the Germanoid can do. As he did that, the Germanoid suddenly activated, took out its cannons and Tesla coils, and said, I command you to put down your weapons. You have 20 seconds to comply. Kintaro dropped the gun, and the machine growled and ignored what was dropped. Germanoid continued, you have 15 seconds to comply. You are in violation of DBIP Penal Code 1.3, Section 9. The business people tried to do everything they can to shut down the machine, but they failed to react in time, with some of the people screaming. You now have 5 seconds to comply, it said before it counted down to the number. After it counted down, it said, I am now authorized to use physical force before it prepared its cannons, lasers and Tesla coils. It began to shoot down Kintaro, blood splattering everywhere. While it does that, it used the coils to electrocute Trista and Kaori, used the lasers to shoot some of the businessmen, and claws to throw Vinyaru and Mimori to the computers, injuring them in the process, and threw Endalal out of one of the building's windows, killing her in the process. This whole story's a mouthful. Jeez. Finally, one of the few surviving business people, the capable functioned Germanoid, shutting it down in the process. Is everything all right? One of the businessmen yelled. Some of the business people, including the 4 injured girls, raised their hands and groaned, indicating they're all right, and then they discovered what happened to Kintaro. Satsui grabbed his brother by the neck, pushed him against the wall as Satsui Satoshi yelled, "What the fuck is wrong with you? You just let the machine go? No, our machine killed some of our team?" Germany stammered. "It was a malfunction, I swear." Sasori replied as he smacked the back of his brother's head. The wall 3 times to the wall 3 times each sentence. "A malfunction? Don't fucking care. It's a goddamn malfunction. Didn't you see what happened to our co-workers?" Then Germany nodded and headed down before Satsui released his grip on his brother, thus allowing him to breathe. "Look," he said after he exhaled. Excuse me. "That setback's going to cost us 30 million. Yeah, 30 million in interest payments. And you've gone and reshaped Crystal Michelle into a better one." His brother exhaled and said, "I understand." But then one of the businessmen exclaimed, "Wait." CEO asked him, "What is it, Baron?" Then Mitsuki Baron Tetsuyo, one of the few surviving businessmen, said, "There's this new program I came up with, Project Rotty. The purpose of the project is to help us rebuild Crystal Michelle by using candidates as projectors of a futuristic world. Think about it like these people who are more agile, relentless, and emotionless. The good part is that we can have a prototype ready within 3 months. What do you think about that?" Satsui nodded his head and said, "Sounds interesting." Then Sachishori and Mitsuko walked away from the offices as the CEO continued. "Well, we will consider it within time." The businessman replied, "Arigato. The candidate we need is a girl. I've got one planned." Then he used the thinking gesture as he came up with a perfect candidate. The theme plays again as we pan out through one of the windows, where Edirol died over to the house of a young girl who lives by herself, since her parents moved, but not divorced, to their own place. When she first started her sophomore year at Crystal Mitchell High School, she had white skin and blonde hair reaching down her neck, has skull earrings, and is a 15-year-old. She's also wearing a green shirt and purple leggings. Her name is Kira Lee, one of the members of the school's dance team and the best friend of Chantella Scuttle, who is also known as Shantae 4000, the Hap Genie of Crystal Mitchell. "My name is Kira Lee," she narrates as she starts to walk down the door. "I'm a 15-year-old girl in Crystal Mitchell High School's dance team, and Chantel Scuttle's best friend. 3 weeks have passed since she, as Chantel 4000, fought against Risky unit at the school's football field after we did our Shantae-themed halftime show, which I got used to after being traumatized for days, and canceled upcoming games until the field was repaired. And we visited Christina Tsuki, also known as Sailor Moon 4000. And that's when I got the skull earrings that resembled those worn by the zombie named Rotty Tops, which is who I am." And Chantel says, she giggles through the continuing. "No matter where I'll be in an unexpected moment, I know Chantel will always be there for me." Excuse me, I'm gonna have to. After hours of conversation, the window shopping, eating, she heard the Conde theme playing through the explosion in a nearby city. Chantel. She yelled before she ran in the blast zone. Meanwhile, a girl with brown hair, styled like the young Nano Tamaguchi's hair, and wearing a aforementioned character's barrier jacket, but metallic and breathes smoke and clears the sky, reveals Risky unit. A mech unit the same appearance as Shantae's enemies, Risky Boots. which was one of the robots that used for Kira and Chantel's halftime show. Yoku, the girl, said, "This is Nanoha 4000 unit is down. I repeat, the unit is down." Then Yoko Skuruna, a futuristic granddaughter of Yono Skyra, who has auburn hair and was wearing black clothes when green details and raised them from her fist into the air and yelled, "Yeah," before Nanoha 4000. Christina, who was wearing a metallic version of Sailor Moon's Fuku, her cousin Brittany Tsukini, was wearing a metallic version of Sailor Saturn's Fuku, and Chantel, who was wearing the nanotech version of Shantae's clothing, started cheering until the chuckle is heard. "Nanoha 4000, the voice said. "You think you can defeat me? Starlight Destroyer? Well, too bad." I'm kind of lost in this story. Then the unit gets up and regenerates and damages parts before its chest area. Through the skull's eyes open up, reveal cannons shoot plasma cannonballs at them. "Nanoha," Sailor Moon 4000 yelled, "look out!" Then the two cyber sensei, the half genie, avoided it, as Nanoha 4000 closed her eyes before she hears a shining sound, and the ball explodes on impact. Three of their eyes close, covered with their arms. The ball explodes before them and puts them down and gasps in awe. It was Nanoha 4000, who had a white shield, and parts of the pink red from her reach out. Her right hand as Nanoha 4000 looks at her shield in awe. "You blocked my cannonball!" The girl with black short hair, wearing an Under Armour female version of the Punisher's 2019 suit. What? But in purple instead of black, and wearing red-purple helmet with metallic skull. "It's controlling the unit, Risky Boots 4000 yelled. "It's impossible," Nanoha 4000 replied. "I'm Lyrical Protector Nanoha 4000. Then the music, Battle Against the Clown from Akira soundtrack, plays as gain confidence, and the shield summoned as she smiled and yelled, "All right, Trinity. Let's give her everything we got," the others said. "Right," before the four screamed and flew down on the robot as it shoots its lasers. But the four avoided them at the same time before knocking it down again. Yoko, Nanoha 4000 replied, or yelled. "Risky Boots 4000 is standing and it's giving up." Yoko replied, "I saw them as well." Then she used her powers to fly over where the battle zone is. After 6 minutes of fighting, the unit fired another chest plasma cannonball at Yoko, but she summoned a shield and blocked it as well. Then it shot its wrist lasers, and she jumped just in time. Afterwards, the two cyber sensei, the half genie and the lyrical protector, and the latter's mentioned fight Risky and her unit until they reach the location where Crystal is. There's 5 gets knocked off of different places. All happened when Kira was running and she tried to find her best friend. I'm lost as to what the hell's going on. "Chantel!" Kira yelled as she ran over to where Shantae 4000 is. 2 miles off from the location as Kira arrived, she yelled, "Are you all right?" Shantae 4000 coughed as she got up before she said, "Yeah, I'm fine. Now I'm going to get Risky before she..." Then, along with the rest of the heroines, you hear Risky Boots 4000 laugh before she yelled, "This is it. The crystal mid-shuttle yo, the main power source. It's all mine." She then laughed again and turned her right hand and drill tip and drilled a hole to the ground which crumbled over the crystal. "No, Shantae 4000, and Kira yelled, before the half-genie carried Kira over where the unit is. You have to excuse me, my nose is just, ugh, today. Then it turned into its drill back into a hand to a normal before it reached over to it as Risky Boots 4000 laughed again and said, "You think you girls can stop the Neo Queen of the Seven Seas? Once I get the crystal, I, Risky Boots, shall no longer deal with crystal mid-shuttle yo as it falls." Then before she could even lay a finger on the crystal, a blast from the back prevented her from reaching her goal. "Now what?" she yelled as she got back up and looked who shot from the back. It was Nanoha 4000, who was standing in a pink magical circle that expanded. "The crystal you're about to seek, which is responsible for all the power in Crystal Mid-Shuttle Yo, is guarded by the god of Mid-Shuttle Yo. I'm not allowing you to do anything to it. Fuck you." Risky Boots 4000 grumbled and screamed as she used the unit to try and punch Nanoha 4000, but Nanoha spawned a shield and destroyed the fist. The music "Gather the Starlight Breaker" from the soundtrack of the first season of Magical Girl Lyrical Nanoha plays as she aimed Ascending Heart, now to shooting the mode, with 4 blasters, 2 on each. Next to her, as it said, "Starlight Destroyer," and collects magic from the mid-shuttle yo. Risky Boots yelled, "Who are you really?" Nanoha yelled, "As I said before, I'm the lyrical protector of Crystal Mid-Shuttle Yo, Nanoha 4000. Let's see here. Then she yelled, "Trinity Rise," before Sailor Moon 4000 and Shantae 4000 flew next to her Neo Princess Helotron. The Cyber Sensei yelled and used the Neo Moonstick shoot wide beam in the unit's regenerating arm. But the power of the half-genie Shantae 4000 yelled before reaching out, "I send you my next weapon, Genie Repulsor." She then shot her repulsor at the other arm. Yoko then chained up the unit's legs to make it fall where the shield would around it. "The crystal is..." Saturn Sailor Moon 4000 yelled. "Protect the crystal at once." "You've got it," Sailor Saturn 4000 replied. Before she yelled, "Silence Barrier," and used the dark saber to spawn a dark shield around the crystal. "You want the crystal?" Nana 4000 yelled. "You can have it." And then Trinity yelled, "Starlight Trinity Destroyer," and their weapons fire at the Risky unit. As the Risky Boots 4000 screamed, the unit explodes. And then 5 floated down, the Chantel carrying Kira, before Yoko yelled, "You're under arrest for attempted murder, destruction property." I am really at puzzle here. Then Yoko tried to punch Risky Boots 4000, before the latter yelled, "Wait, I've got something to say to Shantae 4000. Shantae replied, "Me?" before she walked over the shield's barrier and said, "What do you want from us?" Risky Boots 4000 put her hand on Shantae's shoulder, exhaled and said, "Look, I'm actually not Risky Boots 4000. Then she took her helmet off, revealing a short dark hair from them. "Actually, Ritsuki Bethany, a long friend of Ritsuki," Shantae explained, and then the former Risky Boots put her head down as she cried, "Relax, Shantae, everything's fine." Oh, this is so difficult to make sense. Ritsuki kept crying and said, "I'm sorry for causing all this. It was just that I was separated from you during our times together. and mind-controlled by Princess Berylem, who was known to mind control random girls because of 4,000 equivalents of the original heroes. Villains, Brittany with a fake Princess Berylem, and me in Risky Boots. I didn't want to destroy the girls. Your best group I've defeated by. Then Risky cried and she hugged Shantae 4000 and said, "Please, Shantae 4000. Chantel Scuttle, spare me." What? Shantae 4000 hugged her long-lost friend back and said, "Despite us turning you in, I will." And then Risuki cried tears of joy and said, "Thank you." As they embraced, the five floated to safety, and Shantae carrying Risuki. And police cars from CMSYP and civilians arrived at Risuki's place under arrest during findings instead of handcuffs. Shantae 4000 said, "Mode release before the particles move away," taking off Shantae armor and removing her clothing before she said, "I'm gonna miss her." Sailor Moon 4000 said, "Don't worry, you can come visit her anytime." Meanwhile, the DBIP headquarters on the verge of being rebuilt, the Tomoe brothers of Tsukiko looked at the police sirens. They were a good distance from the building. "That's her," Sejosori asked as he points the window of the girl with the earrings. Mitsuki nodded and talks to them about why she is perfect candidate for the Rotty program. And with that, Germany walked with Sotoshiri to the office with Sotoshiri, gave Germany the files as a VP, is fascinated with the project would do to DBIP. Then Sotoshiri gave the final approval, thus Project Rotty. Meanwhile, the secret facility unrelated to DBIP, black armored robot soldiers, the same ones that captured Christina months ago, suddenly reactivated. Okay, I'm gonna take a break because we're going to a time skip here. When you write a story, when you create a story, you need your hero, your characters, to be understandable. And one of the things that's really bothering me here a lot with this story is the 4,000. The 4,000. You don't need to identify them with a number. Unless it's like somebody shouting out, it's like, "Hey, there's that person, 4,000, blah, 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 4,000. It's a mouthful. It's another thing to make the name simple. It's kind of interesting when you go through a writing process, when you go through a creation process and doing a story. You want your character to be something that can be both identifiable to the reader, but also be something simple enough to read. And things like DBIP, if you're going to shorten that instead of saying what it is, it's a hard thing to read through because it doesn't make, it's not an anagram. It's trying to be an anagram, but it's not an anagram. So saying something like, I had one in a story that was literally, it was human consciousness being used as a weapon. And they were weapons of living force, wolf. So you want a understandable anagram if you do an anagram. If you're doing a name, you want something that's easy to read. Another thing, you really don't need to point out music tracks in a story. It's kind of off-putting because it's like, I don't know what it sounds like. Some of these, I don't know what they sound like. So yeah, it's a little off-breaking. And I mean, we're about to get it right here with another as we go into 3 days later. The full ending music of Shantae in The Pirate's Curse plays as May Asuka and her daughters, Natalie, who are watching over the news, report the attack 3 nights earlier. Meanwhile, at Chantel's house, and see, this is another thing. The names don't have repeat and resounding names. Similarly sounding names compound, because it really confuses. So at Chantel's house, I don't know if she's related to Shantae. It's confusing. She works on a new project, a lightsaber, similar to the scimitar from the aforementioned game. At the same time, Suki Industries, Christina, and Brittany check on the process of both Chantel and Risky. I wonder how Risky's doing now, Brittany said. Well, Christina replied, Chantel is going to visit her later today. Minutes later, Kira visits Chantel's house and talks about the new lightsaber they were later made. Kira picked it up and said, "Looks cool," before giving it to her friend. Chantel talks about the new sword before turning it off and putting it into her pocket. Then they walk out the door and talk about going to the crystal prison where Ritsuki was booked to. After an hour of walking, they finally arrive at the crystal prison, where they showed a revelation visit before walking to the cell rooms. As they walked, one of the staff of the police said, "Miss Ritsuki, you have visitors." Ritsuki, now wearing an orange prison garb, says, "Yes, sir." Before then, Chantel and Kira walked over to Ritsuki's cell, and Chantel said to her long-lost friend, "It's so glad to see you again, long-lost friend." Why would you say that to your friend? It's so glad to see you again, long-lost friend. Then they hugged each other. Before Ritsuki said, "You too, long-lost friend." So Kira said, "It's your long-lost friend." You don't need that. Oh my god, you don't need that. Okay. I'm going to be giving some advice through this. A human won't be like, "Oh, I have seen you, long-lost friend." No, it's great to see you. Oh my god, I haven't seen you in forever. Those are ways to say it. Not, "I've seen you, my long-lost friend." And you don't repeat it to other people. "Oh, this is my long-lost friend." So, Ritsuki asked, "What do you want from me?" Chantel replied, "I've heard you've been sentenced to 5 years in prison for the crimes you've committed. Well, let me talk to you about this. I'm willing to give you something." Ritsuki asked, "What is it?" Chantel paused for 5 seconds and said, "Redemption," before Ritsuki smiled. Alright, this is 3 days ago. 3 days. You're willing to redeem a friend 3 days after their crime. Then Chantel and Kira went back to the front desk and requested Ritsuki to be released before the man behind it approved the request, as she showed kindness to her fellow inmates. 3 days. Then 2 girls walked from the former prison to Chantel's house, where Chantel has packed her long-lost friend's risky boots armor. "No," she said. In awe, she looked at the refurbished armor. "You didn't." Chantel nodded, and she stored it in a hidden compartment next to Chantel's work desk. 3 days. That is not redemption. That is getting away with murder. Especially if you try to take down a power grid. Then Chantel and Kira went back to the front desk. Okay, we did that. Then Kira said goodbye to the other 2 before she walked to her house. When she got through her house, though, the soldiers that reactivated were inside. "Are you Kira Lee?" one of them said in a deep electronic voice. "Yes, I am," Kira shuddered as she raised her hand. Then you are coming with us. Same soldiers picked up Kira as she screamed, Chantal, risky, help! As she said that, jetpacks formed the soldiers' back and fly off with her. Meanwhile, Suki Industries, Brittany scans her stuff. She copies them into her bag. Where do you plan on going? Christina asked. Her cousin replied. I'm going over to Miss Scuttle-Yo because I'm going to see someone, Christina replied. All right, then each said their goodbyes before Brittany got in the elevator, walked down, and before a black portal and lightning bolts opened and took her to the original Miss Scuttle-Yo. This is so confusing. So confusing. So this happens in 2020. So Mid Scuttle-Yo 2020 AD. In a lab inside an apartment, a girl with black hair with brown eyes, wearing a white shirt with a black vest, and red lines and a tie, a black shirt with red and white plaid lines on it, or skirt with black... So a checkered skirt. A checkered skirt. Black and red striped socks, and black shoes was working something before Brittany walked in. You must be Penny, right? Brittany asked. Penny Parker. Penny Parker replied, Yes, I am. Before she took Brittany's hand and she said, You must be the redeemed Princess Beryllium imposter everyone's talking about. Brittany replied unamusingly, Don't mention it. So many freaking crossovers. So many crossovers. But it's not crossovers. And then Penny asked, So what brings you to Mid Scuttle-Yo? Brittany replied, You know, since I've created Morga substance, I should build a lab studying the type of substance I would like to collaborate with you for it. Penny thinks for about 5 seconds before she said, That could be arranged, and then she builds a blueprint, what the lab would be like with the help from Brittany. What should we play when we build this? Penny asked. Brittany asked reply, What do you have? Penny opened up the screen and browsing selection of songs. Let's do this one, she said, pressing the theme into the Spider-Verse. Want it here... This is a hard read. Oh my god, this is a hard read. Skipping to the next part here. Not too bad, Penny asked. Brittany nodded and replied, walked around and finished the Morgana lab. With gray walls, ceilings, microscopes took place. They processed the building. After an hour of the building, each over the hide for the lives. Discovered the test tube Morgan substance brought back before it shook and jumped out of the hand and crushed. Substance moved and SP//DR covered it before absorbing it, having black spider. Is it supposed to be spider? I don't freaking know what's going on. Spurter. Wait, Penny said. When I went with you to make those substances, wasn't that... Brittany shrugged before suggesting, I guess. And then Penny exclaimed, Now that's soy guy. Before beeping was heard from, I'm guessing, Spider. Gotta go, Penny said. I'm gonna use this thing to battle some new kind of robot called More Galactica. Brittany shrugged before she asked, What even is that thing? When Penny talks to her before she goes into the Morgana enhanced spider. As she flies off, it says, Don't forget the key and show the rebels. Brittany replied, I will, before looking at the key, which is based on Candace's necklace from Disney movie Atlantis. Lost Empire. And putting it in her pocket. I'm reading a story that is giving me a headache to read. as this is just, what the hell am I reading? She then walked to the teleporter and teleported herself back to the chamber room before she headed out the door. There she is, battle taking place between rebels and Middle Scuttle Yo, now accompanied by a tall, red, masculine-looking demonic creature with a brown chest and ab area, gray spikes in his back, and 4 knights, and the aforementioned more Galactica, in which Galactica models were golden robot originally built from Sailor Galactica, enhanced by Morga substance, which is a tank model, a large robot with spikes on the side of its arms and a red visor. There she gasped in awe before the explosion occurred. Then cheers were heard as she walked to where they came from. The creature, the head now of one of the girl with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a red bow on the back of its head, and Spider walked to 4 other members of the rebels of Mid-Scuttle Yo. Damien Tran, so that you put yourself in here as the husband of Oscar Longley Sorio, of course. Okay, Damien. Alright, self-inserts. Don't do it. Don't do self-inserts. Makes them way worse. Who was dressed as Harley Quinn from the 2016 Suicide movie. And Massacre agents Alex Guybrek, Sashi Kobayashi. I see you guys are getting some upgrades. Penny said, got her for machine, a new sword and primary, the girl in the demon body, referring to her sword formed in the flesh of a demon's head, and that Morgan's substance, one in the black blade and red hilt, is shaped in the details of aforementioned form, and the familiar voice said, looks like my former Morgan will be an advantage to you guys. Okay. Alright. I have to state right here and now. What does this have to do with Rotty? Alright, if you're gonna have a main character, or a main focus on what we got at the first 4 paragraphs, stick with that. I don't know where this story is now. I really don't know where the story is. We're getting self-inserts. We're getting all this stuff. What the hell am I reading? I really don't know. The knights got out their weapons before Damien halted them and said, "What? Wait, is that..." And then Brittany walked to them. Brittany, Oscar exclaimed, questioning how Christina's cousin got into Mid-Scuttle Yo. Brittany continued, "Most of you don't know me by my name, but my name is Brittany Zucchini, Christina's cousin. I used to make Morga, which when I was mind controlled by the real Princess Beryllium, to serve her as a decoy, to make her Mid-Scuttle Yo experience with the demon girl and her friends." Alright. I'm gonna do something here, because this is a mouthful. I am gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. This is a mouthful. We still got half a story left, and I don't know what the story is, because it is all over the place. I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and apologize to Damien, but I'm going to apologize to the watchers of this. This is a mess of a story. Even if you're doing something episodic or a fan fiction, understanding story structure, understanding having a focus and keeping it there we don't even get focused on one character is talking in a paragraph. When you write a paragraph and you're writing for characters talking, you want that character to talk and that character only to be the one talking in that paragraph. Then you skip to another paragraph, even if it means you have a line of just one word, like yes. That is the character replying. That is how a story is written. This, I don't know what is going on. Its focus is nowhere there. It wants to focus 20 different places, and it's a bad story read. It really is a bad story to read. I hate to say that. I hate to be a critic of someone else's story like that, but you need a focus. Even if it's between a paragraph, I'd be more understandable if it was a focus on a paragraph, but some of these paragraphs are so out there. It is such a hard read that I just cannot, for the life of me, keep going. This is worse than the Sailor Moon, I'm guessing, self-insert we read a week ago, off of the fanfiction.net. This is just horribly set up. There's no understanding what's going on at all in the story, because it's a mix mash, and there needs to be a focus on a character. So, I mean, right now, I'm writing for our Mobster X Maid Girl. I'm writing chapter 18. The main cast, not really appearing until the very end of the series, of the chapter. The chapter is mainly focused on a character that you all have been introduced on the stream, called Alabaster, and his meeting with the general of the Demon Lord Army. So a lot of the story is focused on those characters. I have one other character introduced that we sort of see through their eyes from the beginning and get an idea of what the camp is like. I'm still working on it. I'm going to be cleaning it up because even I am not accepting of the chapter as is. We went through 15, 16 different characters, and the story's all over the place. If you're gonna do something like that, do a script. It's what I did originally in Sailor Moon Andromeda Factor years ago. But at the same time, I still focus scene by scene to keep a focus on where a character's personality is. The action is literally just jumbled there. We aren't getting full action. We're literally getting, 6 minutes later they're fighting, and 6 minutes later they're doing this. And it's not how action's written. It really isn't. You do something like, it clanged across their armor, banging across it, denting slightly across the armor as it ricocheted, and it loud out a loud clang. They took forth and made a throw at them with a vicious... I'm just doing this off the top of my head. That's far more interesting than they put up a shield. And they got this item. And they did this. And, yeah. Focus on your character of your story. It doesn't have to be, if you're going to be doing a multiple character adventure and a crossover, or you're doing other characters added in, doesn't have to be slowly or solely just that one character focused to the point where you're like, oh, well, this character is, the only point of the story. You could do other characters focusing. But at the same time, you need to understand the scene and treat those characters as that way. I have no idea who to hate and who to like in this story. I really don't. Now we're going to do this. We're going to go to a different story. instead. Like I said, we're going to continue this story, which is actually relatively good, that we found the other day, which is the Spy Family Father's Day. And you can even see the difference, where each character is given a line of dialogue. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is a fan fiction. I don't think there's any self-inserts. We'll see. Where we were last off, from last week when we did this story, our main characters of Spy Family, so the same characters that were introduced to in the anime, that'll be back apparently it's got another season, which is great. They're getting another season, so all the more to it. Of Anya, Lloyd, and Yor. We do have a few other characters like Becky brought in. If you don't know her, she's basically Anya's best friend in school. Of course, you have Damien, who's the guy. He likes Anya. He doesn't want to admit he likes Anya, but he's also the bully to Anya. But this is how the story's played out. And basically, Becky and Anya are trying to get their 3rd star. If you didn't know, and actually the episode that will air this week will be the first one where Anya gets a star. A little bit of a spoiler, but if you're a manga reader, you know that the story, Anya's going to get a star in the next episode. So that is what's going to happen. She's going to do something very brave and very honorable. And it looks like they'll begin the next season with the Bond story. And if you don't want to know the Bond story, I don't want to fully ruin it, but it involves a dog, and is probably, in my opinion so far, because I've been slowly reading through the manga, Yor's most badass moment is in that story. So, tune in for that. You'll love it. So we're going to continue Father's Day. Basically, Anya and Becky came up with the idea to build, and actually we got it here. Anya wants to get ready and get Lloyd a perfect Father's Day gift, comes up with the idea to get him to meet with Donovan Desmond, or at least the Stella Star, by throwing a party at Eton College for the dads. So, I mean, basically, simple concept. She just wants to do that. She does have to, go through the concepts here. And she and Becky are going to have agreed to throw the party. So, continuing on where they left off. Alright. Anya had found it hard to pay attention that day in school, knowing she was going to be staying over at Becky's. Yor and Lloyd were bringing over her suitcase, as they wanted to speak with whoever the adult was with Becky when they got her home. As a school bell rang at the end of the day, Yor and Lloyd were standing by Becky's car with the driver. Anya looked nervous, and Becky looked like she had seen an angel. She had known what Anya's parents had looked like from the picture, but from that picture, she developed a crush on Lloyd. "That's my mama and papa," Anya said. She pointed them out. "He's a dreamboat," Becky smiled, looking at Lloyd with loving eyes. "Papa?" Anya asked, but not sure what Becky meant. "Oh, hello," as Lloyd said, as Becky felt her heart flutter. "You must be Becky. Anya's told us so much about you." Becky's blushing, hiding behind Anya. "It's been nothing but good news. You've been very good friend to Anya, and for that I want to thank you." Lloyd smiled. "Let me shake your hand." "It's nothing, Mr. Forger, sir." Becky blushed as she took his hand and shook it. "I'm never washing this hand again," she thought as she went back to the car. "This is Becky's driver. Her parents aren't here, but you can talk to him," Anya said, as Becky seemed too embarrassed to talk anymore. "You must be Anya's parents," the driver said, holding out his hand for Lloyd and Yor to shake. "But rest assured, Miss Blackbell's parents are aware of this slumber party, and will do the utmost to make sure your daughter is happy and well taken care of in your absence, Mr. and Mrs. Forger." It's good to hear. So, Yor smiled. I'm happy to see Anya making good friends here.
I am as well, Lloyd said with his mention to the small trunk. We have a suitcase of clothes for Anya. Where would you like them? I'll put them in the trunk, the driver said, taking the suitcase.
Bye, Mama. Bye, Papa, Anya said, hugging them. I'll see you later.
Have fun, Yor smiled.
I will,
Anya assured her. Be nice, Lloyd said. Listen to the adults and work hard. Have fun, but do not stay up late. Brush your teeth and get help out. Be a proper guest.
Okie dokie,
Anya saluted them and gave Lloyd a hug before running into the car after Becky. It's not Damien Desmond, but I guess a way to meet the Black Bells is useful. I haven't the heart to tell Anya that Donovan Desmond isn't likely to show in a mere Father's Day party, but going for another star is part of the plan A of the mission. Damien, well, he might come around. I don't know. Lloyd thought as he and Yor headed back to the apartment.
You're worried about Anya, aren't you?
Yor asked. Yes, Lloyd said. Wish she'd have befriended Damien so much more.
Becky seemed like a nice girl. From what I heard about Damien, he's picking on Anya.
Yor sighed. Lloyd looked over at Yor. Yes, I've heard that too, Lloyd said, not telling Yor how he knew about that.
Well, I don't know how true it is. You may be able to tell me, as I was never a 6-year-old boy, she began. But my parents told me that at that age, when a boy picks on you, they really like you, but couldn't admit it. Baby and Damien does really like Anya, but can't say it. He's not as cool as to his friends.
I don't remember doing that, Lloyd said. And honestly, the mission can't wait for the years that it would take Damien to mature to that level. Best to hope at this point to get more stars, Lloyd thought as they headed to their home.
Oh, come on,
Yor teased as Lloyd looked at her sternly.
Well, Yuri did act like that to one girl in our class, until I told him it was not nice, Yor added.
Fascinating, Lloyd cited. Meanwhile, Anya looked around Becky's limo, amazed on the look on her face. She had never been in anything so luxurious. The windows had curtains, and there was a section on the thin back with drinks.
Here, Becky said, poured Anya a glass of juice. Have some apple juice on the way home. Thank you, Anya smiled. You take the bus normally, Becky said. Yep. Really, I should talk to my parents about picking you up and dropping you off, Becky said. You're way better than the bus. She sipped on her juice and smiled. Don't worry, Mom and Dad know you're coming. You'll see them when we have dinner. I've already come up with some food ideas for the chef to make for our dads in the class. Figure we should spend the night tasting them and watching some movies. Like the new Spy Wars movie? Anya asked. Sure, Becky smiled. We can work on the decorations too. I want to paint the banner, Anya said, as they rode in the car to the suburb outside of Berlin. It was out of the way in a very wooded area. Bond would like this. She was looking out the window. Oh, we're getting close to the property, Becky smiled. I can play with Wheezy when we get back, too. Or we can play with Wheezy when we get back, too. Wheezy? He's my dog, Anya. Wheezy, Anya asked. He's my dog. He's cute, Becky said. I have a dog, Bond, and he's big and white and fluffy. I can even ride him, Anya said. Cool, Becky said. I have to go to your place in one of these days and meet him. I can't take a look around the handsome dad, she thought as Anya's eyes widened. Why does she keep looking at Papa that way? Anya thought as the car pulled in the driveway to the large mansion. Holy cow, Anya said. My house is nothing like yours. Well, when your dad runs a military arms company, and this comes with it, Becky sighs. Anyway, let's get inside and change. I can't wait to get out into the school uniform. Driver, get Anya's suitcase and let's take it to my room. Becky smiled and let the girls out of the car and took out Anya's bag, followed them into the large manor of the house to Becky's room. Becky opened the door and Anya looked around, amazed. The room was huge. She had a large canopy bed and a dresser, a vanity and a dressing table in the closet. Becky noticed Anya standing by her suitcase. You can change in the bedroom over there. Okay, Anya said as she pulled out the dress and headed into the bathroom to change. This whole place is so big, she thought, as she looked at the large clawfoot tub, pink toilet, and the sink in the bathroom. She quickly changed her clothes as a woman came in. Anya had just finished changing when she peeked out the door. Martha, Becky said as she ran up to the older woman. Is that your grandmother? And Anya asked. Oh, who may this be, Miss Blackbell? Martha asked, looking at Becky to Anya. This is my friend Anya. She's sleeping over tonight so we can work on a project for school, Becky said as she hugged Anya. Well, that's wonderful, Martha said. Remember that dinner is soon. Your parents are waiting. Thank you, Martha, Becky said. Come, Anya, let me show you the dining room. I know my dad hangs out there a lot before dinner. With this, she took Anya's hand and led her to the dining room. Once there, her father looked up and smiled. Hello, Becky, her father said. This must be your friend, Anya Forger, am I correct? Yes, Mr. Blackbell. Anya nodded as Mr. Blackbell put down his newspaper and looked lovingly at his daughter and her best friend. He was a large, plump man who had a very bushy mustache. He was dressed in a fine business suit and looked impressive, like a CEO of a military arms manufacturer would. Like a man who had a front-line experience but now gotten out of the military. Well, Becky really likes you and told us all about you. Thank you for being her friend, and thank you for being her friend, Mrs. Blackwell said as she sat down beside her husband. She looked much younger than Mr. Blackwell, but refined. She seemed to be really in love with Mr. Blackwell, rather than just with him for his money. As Anya heard a lot of students at Eden Academy talk about their parents. You're welcome, Mrs. Blackwell, Anya said. Oh, dinner is ready, Mr. Blackwell noted, as Becky sat down and showed Anya the seat across from her. In came butlers and servants who would each given a plate to a member of the family. My favorite, he said. Filet mignon and au gratin potatoes with home gravy. It's not much, but it's good. Indeed, Mrs. Blackwell smiled. As they began to eat, Mr. Blackwell looked over at Becky and Anya. So, Becky tells me you two have a project you're working on for extra credit. Yes, Daddy, Becky said. We're hosting a party for our class's Father's Day. Anya looked at Becky in surprise. Yes, but I'm keeping it a secret from my papa, Anya added. Mama knows and promised not to tell. Aw, why did you want to keep it a secret from him? Mrs. Blackbell asked with a genuine interest. I want it to be a surprise, Anya said simply. Well, that's a good reason, Mr. Blackbell said. What does your papa do? He's a psychiatrist. A feelings doctor, Anya said. She knew she couldn't tell him that Lloyd's real profession, but stumbled over psychiatrist. It's a good job, Mrs. Blackwell said. Does your mama have a job? She works at City Hall, Anya said, once again knowing definitely could not tell them yours real profession. Mrs. Blackbell said. Good, honest jobs. You sound like you have a good family, Miss Anya. Thank you, Mr. Blackbell.
Anya said as she took another bite of the meat. Filet mignon is very good. Thank our chef, Mrs. de Blackbell said. We will when we talk to him later on, Becky said. I gave him the menu for the party so that would impress Professor Henderson. The man loves elegance, Mr. Blackbell noted as Anya and Becky nodded. After dinner, Anya and Becky went to their bedroom for a bit of relax and pet her dog, playing with her dolls until the cook and few servants came in. This is the sample menu I had the cooks make. I wanted you to try them while we watch Spy Wars movie, Becky explained. Okay, Anya said. The movie began. She sampled the foods Becky had picked. They were all very tasty, as Professor Henderson would call it elegant, but in the end of the movie, both of their stomachs were bulging and full. So, Becky began, hiding a burp. What you think? Delicious, Anya said as she belched herself. Good, Becky yawned. Tomorrow, decorations and invitations. Agreed, Anya sighed and stuffed with food. Okay, that was part 3. We're going to go on with part 4. Part 4. After the late start, Anya and Becky got up and headed to the dining room, where they were served breakfast and pancakes the cook made. As they heaped on the maple syrup, Mr. Blackbell came in and smiled. So, what do you girls have planned today? We're going to make decorations and flyers and invitations today, Becky said. That's good, Mr. Blackbell said, taking a piece of fruit from the basket on the table and biting down on it. Becky, Anya, if you need anything from my office, you may use it. Just don't look in my files, okay? Okay, Becky said. She looked over to Anya. We can make flyers and invitations easier that way. Dad's got a photocopier in there. We just press a button and it makes more. Cool, Anya said. I've never seen one of those. Well, you'll love it. Made so many copies on that thing, Becky said. So that explains why I keep running out of paper and toner, Mr. Blackbell said, looking at Becky sternly, who broke a nervous smile. You should know better, he sighed. You have my permission to use it for your school project, but from now on, ask me first at least, okay? Okay, Becky said, with her head looking down. After the breakfast, Anya and Becky ran over to her small house, where she had placed had a room paint and made artistic endeavors. Anya looked around and amazed at it all. It was so big she had everything. There was even a large easel, a big roll of paper, a pottery wheel, large containers of paint. You have everything, Anya gasped. Indeed, Becky smiled. Anya looked around and saw a large tub of glitter and paint and markers. I want to use so much glitter on the banner. Oh, God. It's a cool idea, Becky said. I got a list of all the classmates' addresses. I'll address the envelopes to the dads and make the flyers. You can make the banner. Sure thing, Anya said. If you need any help, just to hit one of the buttons on the wall with the speaker. Becky pointed to the intercom box. I'll contact one of the Blackbell family servants, and they'll help you move anything. You got anything you need, whatever. While you're here, they're at your disposal too. Cool, Anya said as she took out a big roll of paper and some pencils and began to sketch out Happy Father's Day on the paper. She thought of Lloyd and just how happy he would be when Professor Henderson gave her and Becky the stars, and how excited it would be when Donovan Desmond showed up with Damien. But he didn't come to the entrance ceremony, Anya thought sadly. She knew too much. Lloyd and Yor were excited to be there, despite the fact that she had punched him in the gut in a bolt that day. Every other student's parents were there, except Damien. Maybe that's why Damien is a meanie, a butt-face, Anya thought. His dad doesn't come to anything the school does. As she pondered why Damien was the way he was, she mixed the gold glitter with the red and the blue paints. Red and blue were the colors of the school logo, And the uniforms were trimmed in gold, so Anya thought this would impress Professor Henderson. Each letter was a different color.
Cool, Becky said when she looked over Anya's work. I haven't finished the flyers and invitations, so let's go to my dad's office and use the copier.
Yes, Anya said, standing up and tipping the paint cans. None of it got on the banner, but it went all over the floor.
Sorry,
she noted, and the paint got all over her hands.
We'll wash up first, Becky said. I don't think Dad would like paint on his office.
Nope, Anya blushed. She went to the bathroom and washed her hands all clean. She smiled.
Good, Becky nodded. Now to Dad's office to copy the invitations and flyers.
Becky knows a good bit about the parties. Glad she's working with me, Anya thought. As Becky opened the door in her dad's office, Anya looked around. There was an old on-a-stair war propaganda and recruitment posters everywhere. There's a model of a tank on the desk. She grabbed a box of files in the sturdy box, pulled it closer. Let me show you how this works. She came to one of the flyers, placed it face down on the copier. Closing it, she typed in 100 and hit the start button. A light skimmed the paper as it was closed and copied after copy came out.
Cool, huh?
Oh, Anya said. She watched the flyers come out.
Let me do the invitations.
Here you go, Becky said. Took out the paper and looked it over. You're invited to a Father's Day party. Come to the cafeteria this Father's Day at Eden Academy at 3 p.m. We would love to see you and your students for a fun day of music, snacks, mingling. Don't miss out. Anya read to herself as she placed it face down.
How many?
Becky thought and counted her classmates in mind.
25.
Okay, Anya said as she placed down the lid. She looked at the number pad. 2, 5. She had hit the 2, but the 5 button was sticking.
Oh no,
she said as she hit the 5 second time.
I'm sorry.
Girls, Mr. Blackbell said, walking into his office.
I'm sorry,
Anya said, tears welling in her eyes. She remembered the conversation with Mr. Blackwell and had earlier scolded Becky for using the copier too much. What's the matter, Miss Anya? He asked, noticing how shook up she was.
I only wanted 25 copies, she cried. One of each student, but I think I hit 5 instead twice. We have 255 invitations.
Oh, that is a matter, Mr. Blackbell said and laughed. Don't yell at Becky. It's my fault, Anya cried. It was an accident, he reassured her. I didn't tell you, but I know the 5 sticks sometimes. I've done it myself, he pats Anya on the shoulder. But you can take these and send them to the moms as well. He winked and gave Anya an idea. I found if you're looking to invite a husband and wife, seeing an invitation to both of them gets them to come. Men often ignore these, but the women, they love parties and will insist their husbands into going. So, while you still have too many, it's a happy mistake. All's forgiven. Simple accident, Mr. Blackbell said, as he took the invitations and gave them to Anya. But you need to get back to work. That's 50 invites you girls must address.
Okay, Dad,
Becky saluted.
I'll get to the dads and you get to the moms, Anya. Okie dokie,
Anya said as they looked at the invitations and the flyers and ran out the room. Really should get this fixed, Mr. Blackbell sighed. To get the invite, Mr. Forger himself. Becky thought, now she knew deep down he was not going to attend to see her. But it gave her such a rush to writing to him. She handed Anya the address list of the students' parents, and they both got to work writing out the address, stamping the envelopes. It was long and tiresome, but they both knew it had to be done, to have the party go off without a hitch. As night fell, the driver came by to see both Becky and Anya, popping their knuckles. I see you girls had a lot of writing, the driver said, as he picked up Anya's suitcase.
Yeah, Anya moaned.
Well, Miss Blackbell, Anya's parents called and they would like her home to spend some time with the family before school. You can see her home, but she can't stay another night. I'm sorry, the driver explained.
Okay, Becky moaned. I'll drop these in the mailbox. The driver said he took the invitations and led Becky and Anya to the car and to take her home. After what seemed to be a longer ride from school, the driver dropped Anya in front of the house to see Lloyd and Yor waiting for her. Mama, Papa, she smiled, running off the steps, hugging them both. Did you have a good time? Lloyd asked. So much, Anya said. We need to invite Becky over one of these days. We'll talk about that later, Lloyd said. Say goodbye to Becky, Yor prompted. Bye, Becky, Anya said, hugging her friend. See you Monday at school, Becky said with a note of sadness. Yep, Anya said in the same tone. Now you must tell me all about your time at Becky's house, Yor said, as they walked inside Becky's drove off. I have dinner on, and I can't wait to hear all about it, Lloyd said. The following week passed by slowly. Both Anya and Becky. Father's Day was that Sunday, and they had a special permission to come in and set up early. The maintenance staff would be there, waiting for them. The banner had made still needed time to dry. Yor was going to take Anya, and as instructed, Lloyd to meet them down there. He knew full well what was going on, but he promised to Yor to make it seem like it's typical or total surprise that Anya was the one who arranged it. He had received an invitation a few days before Anya completely denied knowledge of it. Yor had gotten the same invitation, and it was then Anya had told her that she needed to come with her. Now it was Sunday, and Yor was helping the staff blow up the balloons and put them in the center of the table. Becky had brought many of the staff from her family estates, and many of the maintenance staff were there to help hang streamers and banners. Miss Folger, I must say I'm taken away by your daughter, Professor Henderson said. Oh, Professor Henderson, Yor said. Thank you. I like the color scheme of the banner, Professor Henderson said. So elegant and honors Eden. I did that, Anya said. Becky made the flyers and invitations. We decided on the food. Elegant work, you two, Professor Henderson said. Anya told me that Becky cooks what that made food, Yor whispered. I expected something as such, Professor sighed. But the menu was the girls' idea, so I'll give them credit. They are only 6-year-olds. That's true, Yor sighed. At the time of the party started to draw near, many of the parents started arriving, and Mr. and Mrs. Blackwell had come in, met up with Becky, who waved over at Yor and Anya. Ah, Mrs. Blackwell smiled. You must be Mrs. Forager. Anya's told us so much about you during her stay. Yes, Yor asked. Where's Lloyd? She thought in a panic. She looked up and saw it wasn't quite 3 yet. He's still got time. Ah, yes, Mr. Blackwell smiled. Spoke very highly of you and how you taught her to fight, which protected Becky from Damien. I admire a mother who teaches a daughter self-defense. Military Manufacturing CEO smiled. Where's your husband? Oh, he's on his way, Yor said. Anya insisted that he come later than me. Oh, she told us she wanted to surprise him, Mr. Blackwell said. Yes, Yor said, as she looked around and Damien was standing in the corner, munching on a plate of food, looking forlorn. Did Damien's father not show up? Meanwhile, after finishing a long cipher he needed to send off, Lloyd ran as quick as he could from the bus stop to the cafeteria of Eden Academy. I don't want to break Anya's heart, so... Also, Donovan Damien might be there, he thought as he ran quickly and panting. Just as the clock struck 3. Papa! Anya yelled from across the room. Over here! Anya, Yor! Lloyd said as he quickly ran up and hugged them both, looking over at Becky and her parents. Ah, Mr. and Mrs. Blackwell, hello, Lloyd said, gaining his composure. I had a conference call that ran a little long. Something happens in psychiatry.
Oh, I understand, Mr. Blackbell smiled. We want to make sure our kids are happy, unlike some fathers. What do you mean? Lloyd asked. Mr. Blackbell motioned over to Damien in the corner. Damien, I know his father very well by reputation, Mr. Blackbell explained. Never showed up to the entrance ceremony. Nothing. Shameful. Yes, Lloyd said. But I must say, my good sir, from meeting your daughter and now you, I have to say I want to hear more from you. Mr. Blackwell smiled. All I want is for my little Becky to be happy. She's made one of the most faithful friends someone could ask for. Why, thank you very much, Lloyd bowed. Where'd Anya go? Anya, hearing Damien's father did not show up, heading over to where he was standing and took his hand. What are you doing, raccoon-faced peasant? Well, since your dad didn't show up, you can come over here with Becky and mine's dad, Anya said. I don't wanna, Anya said as she took Damien over to Lloyd and the Blackbells, and who were now standing with Professor Henderson. Ah, Miss Anya, I was wondering where you went, Professor Henderson. I wanted Damien to not feel alone, Anya said. If his dad didn't show up, he could hang with ours, she explained. This will help Papa's mission, she thought. Such good citizenship, Professor Henderson said. Well, I'm pleased to say I love this party. The decorations, the food, and the camaraderie you were building between classes and families. So I award you both, Anya Forger and Becky Blackbell, with a stellar star. Yay! Anya said. She hugged Becky, who was both jumping up and down. Nice work, Becky. When we get home, we'll discuss your reward, Mr. Blackbell smiled. Thanks, Dad, Becky replied. Oh, Damien, this is my dad. Anya introduced him to Lloyd. Hello, Mr. Forger. He looked away. I'm your daughter's classmate. You see, Lloyd said. She's trying real hard to be your friend. He looked at him with a stern glance. I do hope you don't be mean to her. I'd hate for it to cause problems. I won't, Damien said. Good, Lloyd said. As you see, being friends with my daughter can really help you out. I was told you're missing your handkerchief. She gave you hers in place of the bolt that you have gotten. Yeah, Damien grumbled. I do want stars. Then maybe you could stop picking on her, Lloyd said. I'll try not to, Damien said. I don't think my dad's showing up. Well, if you befriend Anya, I can help you out, Lloyd smirked. But if you're mean, then he looked over darkly at him. I will know, and I'll make sure you pay. Yes, Mr. Forger, sir, Damien said as he ran off. Yor laughed. What's so funny, Yor? Lloyd asked. Oh, you're protecting Anya, she said. The rest of the party went off well. Everyone was pleased. The parents mingled while the children played with the balloons, ate snacks and mostly delicious cakes the Blackbell cooks had made. After a few hours, everyone started to head home. Becky waved goodbye to Anya, who had headed home. As Damien began to head back to the dorm, Professor Henderson stopped him. I know you want stars, Mr. Desmond, and I know your insistent pestering of Mr. Forger. You may earn one, too. Really? Damien asked. Yes, Professor Henderson said, by helping clean up this mess. What? Damien said. Cleaning was not something that someone of his social stature did. Yes, contributions to society get stars, too. And you could contribute by helping clean, Professor Henderson explained. Fine, Damien said. And you must do it elegantly, he added. Complaining will not be tolerated. Okay, Damien shied. Oh, and before you think that I won't know, I have asked the maintenance staff to inform me if you do not do a satisfactory job. Damien growled, but wanted the star to begin to pick up the trash and put it in the trash can. I should really think of what Mr. Forger said. I don't want Anya becoming an Imperial Scholar before me. Meanwhile, stuffed from the party good, Lloyd and Yor and Anya looked around. I'm proud of you, Lloyd said to Anya. You are, Papa? She asked. Yeah. And you're trying to befriend Damien, despite how he's treating you. So mature. I could not be happier. It's the perfect Father's Day gift you could have given, he said as he picked up Anya and hugged her. I love you, Papa, and Mama, Anya said as she motioned to Yor to join in the hug. We have a star-bright scholar, Yor smiled. Yes, Lloyd said, and she's on her way to being an Imperial one. Yay! Anya will be the very best, like no one ever was, Anya yelled. Yep, Lloyd said. I might be the right choices. I love Anya and Yor. Might not be traditional family, but we have our missions. But it's best I could ever hope for. Anya smiles as she reads Lloyd's mind. I love you, Papa, Anya said. I love you too, Anya, Lloyd said. I think there's a new Spy Wars on tonight. Let's watch it, Anya said. And there you go. I want to thank Realm for a pretty good story that we've done for the last 2 weeks over here with the story of Father's Day. I feel a good. We had sort of a shining of two different tales today. We had Damien Tran, who I want to thank again for contributing and putting up with criticism of trying to get through the story of Project Rotty, and then also for Realm's wonderful story of fanfiction.net of Father's Day. It's kind of a good parallel here. Yeah, when you do a writing project, when you do something fictional, and I had to say it as fictional, because I can't really speak too much from nonfiction on how to write, but I can definitely state from fiction. Write with the focus of the story in that chapter. It's okay to jump from one character to a next. I mean, we're even doing it in Demon Blade. The pages that'll drop this week, there are 2 that's going to drop, and they're going to be, it's going to be a switch between narratives. So we're going to have a moment with Tetsu that switches over, and it'll be a transition that Tetsu sees something that'll transition to Ruth's story, and we'll focus on Ruth in that point. But there's an interaction between Ruth and her father that I think through how the characters' personalities, how things are. So, yeah, bit advice if you're going to be a writer, in any sense, make it simple, make it understandable, don't word down things, don't make it too wordy. If you're going to do an anagram, try and make it a true anagram, try and make it sound like something that forms another word. And keep conversations separate. So you can see, whereas the earlier story we told, we had the full paragraphs and 3 or 4 characters would be speaking in that same paragraph. These are individual characters talking. 1, 2, 3. And so it's each a line, each a separate line. So it's not misunderstanding who's talking for the most part. So it's an easier way to read, an easier way to do. I do thank Damien Tran. Yeah, I think we're going to avoid doing any more of Damien's stories. Because Damien does do some artwork with it, but I don't think we're going to feature any more of the stories. Because I don't want to pick on them. And I don't want an audience to pick on them.
So I absolutely, again thank Damien for being here. Is what I was giving is true criticism of how to write a story. If I said anything that hurts your feelings, Damien, I feel sorry, genuinely, because I am not here to criticize you in that sense. You can write a good story. Just break it up, break it, and focus on one character at a time. Don't jumble. And on that note, next week we will be back with another 11 Kingdoms. So we get to get the criticism on our own end. So we'll be telling 11 Kingdoms story next week. We will not be doing Mobster X Maid Girl next week or even through the month of July, because I want to get a few chapters ahead. Like I said, I've been writing the next chapter of Mobster Maid Girl, which is chapter 18. I've been writing it over the last day. I need to do some cleanup on it. It literally just got finished a few hours ago. So, I mean, we're going to go back through and be doing some editing and doing some work on it from there to sort of bring it out and perfect it. But I thank you all for joining in. If you have a story you want to share, if you don't want criticism, let me know on those. I won't criticize your work if you specifically said, here's something I want to share. Please don't criticize the work. Okay. But if you want to share your work, if you want to share somebody else's work, actually, we aren't going to do 11 Kingdoms. Now I remember what we were going to do. We're not going to do 11 Kingdoms. My mistake. I forgot what I had on schedule. We are going to be going through and doing a classical piece. I've been asked. This is one of the things we came up with during our Dining and Doodle stream, to do some of the classical stories. Classical fiction, classical stories. So stuff like the original Pinocchio, the original Cinderella. I don't know which one I'm going to choose yet. I am going to try and do an English translation of an original fairy tale, basically. We will do one that doesn't end quite the way most of the fairy tales of Disney or of these others end. So we'll go dive into a factual fairy tale, where we don't change the elements of the story, where they're kept original to a point, that the earliest forms that we can find. So we will do that next week, and then in 2 weeks we'll do another 11 Kingdoms. But like I said, I will not be doing a Mobster X Maid Girl until August on this stream, because we're going to try and get ahead a few chapters. So we're writing a few chapters through the summer to get up and go through and at least finish the General Lust story arc, which is what we're currently on, even on the stream. So I will be back with you all again tomorrow night with our Persona playthrough. We currently have a poll on our DeviantArt page. In fact, if I bring this back up, let me see here. We're going to go down to the poll so people can see the poll results. We currently are at 34 poll votes. What game should we be playing next on stream? This will be taking over the Persona slot we currently are on, because the Fallout New Vegas is going to take a while. Currently in the lead, we are at a tie with Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Breath of the Wild. We do have Final Fantasy Remake and GTA 5 in a close second place. So people can vote on what they want through DeviantArt/EmbriaArt, and we have the poll right on the front page, where you can vote on what we will be playing next after our Persona playthrough is done. I haven't played Oblivion all the way through, and it's been years since I played it. It's been years since I played Breath of the Wild, but I have beaten it several times. I have never even gotten much beyond the beginning of GTA 5. And Remake, I've beaten. I have beaten Remake, so we could be doing a playthrough of that if that comes down to it. The rest of them, I mean, we have Witcher 3, but nobody wants it, apparently. Red Dead Redemption 2, never played it. Never played either of them. I have Super Mario Odyssey, I've beaten it. But, I mean, to do it on stream, I can do it on stream. And we have the original Final Fantasy VII and Stories of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, and World Seeker as well. One Piece World Seeker. I've never played any of those games. Well, I played Mineral Town several times. I've never played World Seeker, and 7 I've played multiple times. And beaten, but I've never mastered. If we were going to go through 7, I was going to try to do a master run. That would be the only issue with the 7. We'd try to do a master run, which would be godly frustrating, because you gotta master all the materia. But it's doable. But yeah, these are currently our current poll. We might do a filler game of the new Ninja Turtles, Revenge of the Shredder, that's come out literally today. It is officially released today. We might do that if I can get enough players to join in, because I'd want to do a 6-player of that game so much. I'd love to do that on a stream. Other than that, we will also be doing Dining and Doodles. We have a request. In fact, I can pull up our list of what we are doing this week right here. So we are doing a Cars request. So we were going to be doing a request of Disney's Cars. I have an idea of what I'm going to do, because I don't have the commenters' information. If you're watching this, please let me know. You were on YouTube Live for one of our streams, and you wanted to make a request for Cars with your character. I have a good filler in the meantime, because I did not catch your information, and I don't know who you are to draw you as a car from Cars. But I am going to draw a certain person from Cars. But yeah, we will do that on Saturday, so we'll be doing that, and then we'll be back with New Vegas on Sunday. Until then, as always, I hope you all have a wonderful evening.